everyone, this is Sam with the TinkerCAD Challenge of the month of April of 2023, and that is going to be create a fidget spinner. So this is going to be with Codeblocks once again. Codeblocks is a really great tool to use when you want specific measurements of certain things. So to create a fidget spinner or anything with similar sizing is always great to use Codeblocks with. So the first one I'm showing you, this is the one you're actually going to be making in this tutorial. If you want to try making the gyro spinner, this is actually going to be in the tutorial from, I believe, last September. I have a fidget spinner for there. This one is a little bit harder. So if you want to give this one a shot, you're welcome to. You can still get a free print for making this one. But if you want to try out this one, I have two different options for this one. I only print out this one, but there's another option where the it's just a weighted center, and then you can still spin it just as well. So that's our option. Both of them, this one uses Codeblocks. The other option uses just the 3D designs that we have done for most of these projects. For those who are new and you register for the Library TinkerCAD Challenge, be sure to make a TinkerCAD account and then join the TinkerCAD classroom. I'm going to be listing the code at the bottom of the screen here. This is where you get to join the class code, and you don't need to join. It's just easier for me to access your projects that you're working on. You will not see anyone else's information. It's just all about contacting me and then let me know what you have printed. I can pull up your information that way. If you need any extra help, please contact me. I have my email down here as well, and you can request one-on-one appointments. We can go over the entire TinkerCAD challenge. If you just want to have a brief explanation of how it works, or if you just want to see what other options you have in order to do this challenge, and we can talk through it, and then I'll show you a little bit of how TinkerCAD works. It is a very fun program. You don't need to download anything. This is all online. Autodesk created this wonderful program that is so easy to use and it's so much fun. And it's great for code blocks. It's great for 3D design. And there's also a circuits option there as well. I haven't done anything in circuits just yet, but keep a lookout. I might try to do some projects with those. Just so you know, any 3D print can take about as a few minutes to a full day. So it depends on how much you're 3D printing. But if you are curious to see your 3D print go, this does take an hour. But if you want to schedule a time to come in just to watch it start or towards the end, and then we could work on getting your little the weighted parts in there, let me know. We can do something like that. When you're ready to print, make sure you let me know what color. We do have a lot of options. Just let me know what your favorite color is, and I'll print out as a fidget spinner. And just so you know too, I will give you the weights for these, so you don't have to worry about providing them. Once you get your fidget spinner printed out, you get all of it. And then yeah, that's all I need to let you know. I hope you have a great time tinkering and creating your own fidget spinner. Happy month of April. Once again, this is where we have our open page when you are logged into your name. This is my page here. So you see some of the projects I've worked on, and some of them you might recognize, as well as you have your classes here. So yours might look a little different. I have the TinkerCAD Challenge class. I can see how many people are in there. But once again, we're going to start off with designs, and we're going to create new. And this time we're going to start with Codeblocks. So I've done another fidget spinner. The one I did before was a gyro spinner. So if you're interested in trying that one out for the month, you're welcome to. I'm going to show you two different spinners this time around because I think TinkerCAD added a new one. Actually, they added a couple of them, really, but there is a way to make a fidget spinner much like the ones we're used to with the little weights in them. So I'm going to show you how to make a weighted spinner. The gyro spinner is more of a bunch of circles. Anyway, I'm going to get started. So what we're going to do first is create variables, and if you remember from my last description of variables, I described them as like the ingredients to the overall code that we're making. So right now I pulled out the create variable. This is in the math area. I'm going to change this name. So you're going to rename it to radius, and then we're going to set it to 28. Okay, so the radius is going to be the circles of the fidget spinner. We're going to plug in another variable into the radius, and we're going to rename this one as half radius. Okay. And then we're going to put in another math block. So look for one of those math blocks, plug it out here. So I'm going to grab the radius from the data, plug it into the first circle of 0, hit divide, just that little slash, and the number 2. So we have that, and I'm going to plug that in there. Okay, so these are two variables, two ingredients to the code blocks we have going on now. I'm grabbing create variable, plugging it down here, and we're going to rename this to thickness. So this is going to be how, I guess, wide your spinner will be. And we're going to change this to 4. Okay, so that is all for the variables. And I'm going to scroll back up here. Under the modify, which is the purple, we're going to create new object, and we're going to rename this as spinner. So this is going to be the overall body of the spinner. Hit OK. And now we're going to add a cylinder. So I'm scrolling all the way up to the very top in the shapes. I'm going to plug in cylinder. And this is going to be a solid, so make sure this is checked. Where it says radius, I'm going to grab the half radius. So scroll all the way down to the data. This is where all the variables we made is going to be. And we're going to plug in half radius into radius. The height will be 5, so change 20 to 5. Sides are going to be 64, so it's going to be a really smooth fidget spinner, which is good. Edge is 0, edge steps is 1. All right, and now we're going to create another cylinder. So scrolling all the way up again, plugging that in. Now this one's going to be a hole, so while solid is checked, you want to make sure you hit the gray stripes. We're going to grab an arithmetic block, and here, grabbing in the data, we're going to plug in half radius, subtract, which is the minus, the thickness, and plug that in. And then we're going to take this whole arithmetic block, plug it in up there into the radius section. So now we have height is 20, sides are going to be 64, edge is going to be 0, edge steps is going to be 1. So those are not going to change. And now I'm going to create a group. So what creating a group will do, which will change this whole, it'll make a hole out of the solid. So that's how you want to group things, much like in the 3D design. Every time you group something, that's how you get all the pieces together, and it forms like one color, as well as it takes pieces out depending if it's a hole or not. So I'm going to change the color just to make this, let's say blue. You can change it to whatever color, doesn't really matter, but you'll see overall what the shape is going to make. Okay, and then I'm going to grab the move tool, plug it at the bottom, scroll all the way down the data again to grab the radius variable, plug that in there. All right, and so let's play it to see what we have going on right now. Okay, so it may not look a lot right now, but this is what's going to overall object that's going to be the main object that's going to cut things out of the fidget spinner, as well as make the different circles for a fidget spinner. So this overall is going to be a very important piece, and you'll see in a bit when we create the bases next. So we're going to create a new object, plug that in here, and we're going to rename this to base. Hit OK. Okay, now we have to scroll all the way back up again. We're going to grab that cylinder, plug it in right under here, and we're going to make sure it's a solid. Open this up. Once again, we're going to grab that arithmetic math piece. So this thing again, and we're going to grab the data of the radius, subtract 4.6. Now we're going to take this, plug this in the radius. Height is going to be 5. I don't know if you realize the height and the thickness are the same. That's why we're changing the height to 5. Sides are going to be 64. Edge is going to be 0. Edge steps is 1, so those two will not change. Now here, we're going to go up to control, which is the orange, grab that and plug that in. So we're going to change this from 0 to 6 by 1. So this is going to like multiply them, and you'll see what's going to happen. It's actually pretty neat. It's going to just add them as we go. We're going to add a cylinder. This is going to be a hole, so you want to click on that gray stripe, make sure it's a hole. I pulled out the radius, or I pulled out the tool menu, and then I'm going to scroll all the way down. Once again, going to find the data. We're going to bring in the half radius. Sides are going to, height is going to be 5. Sides are going to be 64. And then edge and edge steps are 0. So that's so good. Now we're going to scroll on up again to modifies. We're going to look for move. Grab move, plug that in. Try to make sure you can see this. So I just plugged in right underneath the bottom. Scroll all the way down to location. I'm sorry. Scroll all the way down to grab the radius, plug that in, and then scroll up to rotate around. Let's just rotate, yes. So grab rotate, plug that in, and we're going to rotate, change this axis X to axis Z by, we got to grab one of these math tools again, plug that in, and you see this data where it says I, grab that. You might say a little bit different, but look for the one with the letter, but it should be one of those two. And we're going to multiply it by 60. Okay, so this is done. We're going to plug this into that 90 section. So this arithmetic degrees from pivot, and we're going to grab this location, which is just going to make sure it just stays in the center. So we're not going to change any of this. This is where it's going to be. And now we're going to create a group with this. And just out of curiosity, I'm going to change the color. And you could probably see which two colors those are. So I'm going to change it to like a pink or like a salmon color. Okay, and I'm going to scroll out a little bit so you can see, and then I'm going to hit play. You're going to see it play all over again. So that's what we started with, and now this is the whole body. So you see it's like duplicating and moving everything over. This is the counting of 6. So this is where it's going to take all of those pieces out, which is what we want. And you're going to see, and the next step we're going to work on is actually getting all these circles to go in the appropriate location. So like one here and one here. Pause your video for a second to see what you have so far. I'm going to move these bars over. Okay, so pause your video to catch up with this if you need to. Pause it right here. And we're going to work on the last step. The body, this is the, what do we call this? The spinner part. And now we're going to create another group and call it fidget spinner. So we're going to create the whole rest of it. So let's call it fidget spinner. So we're going to move down and we're going to go to count with, plug that in, and then it says I and count with from 1 to 3. So that means we're going to make 3 arms. Add a copy of an object. So modify, plug that in. We're going to scroll down to the data spinner. So we're adding copies of this object right here. And I'm going to grab the spinner part, plug that in. And you can change it to any color. I already changed it to blue. I believe I changed it to that blue. I can't remember. But that's going to be the color I'm choosing for the rest of them. And then I'm going to go up again, and this is going to rotate around. So when we make copies, it's going to rotate around each one of them. Axes, X is going to be changed to axis Z by, we're going to grab that arithmetic block, and then we're going to plug in the I variable. So this is the counting object. Change this to multiply, and then type in 1, 2, 0, so 120 degrees. We're going to plug that in there from, see where it says pivot, we're going to grab that locator block, plug that in there. So that means it's going to, the pivot is going to be the center, which is right here. So that's how that's going to work. Okay, now I'm going to scroll up again, add a copy of the object, plug it underneath the count with block, scroll down again. We're going to add spinner. So we're going to plug in spinner there. We're going to add another copy, plug that in. Scroll down again, so we're going to keep going up and down with this, and we're going to add base, plug that in. We're going to do this, and then I'm going to go up again, delete object. So after we add a copy of them, we're just going to delete them. I'm just going to grab two so I don't have to scroll up and down. So grab two delete object blocks, plug them in. For the first one, put in spinner. For the second one, put in base. Now we're going to add, scroll all the way up, we're going to add cylinders again. So these are going to be the other two. Okay, so this is going to be a solid cylinder, so make sure that the solid is checked off. Open up that shape toolbox, and now we're going to grab two arithmetic blocks to plug in. Okay, so this one might get a little funny, but for the first one, we're going to plug in half radius. We're going to change this to divide, and then change that to 2. Okay, the second one is going to stay as plus, and we're going to change this to 2. And now you want to take the half radius divided by 2 and plug it into the 0. So this is what it should look like. It's hard to see, but you should be able to see this one is in this one, and it does matter. So make sure you definitely put in the first arithmetic that says half radius divided by 2 in the first block, and then it's going to say plus 2. So we're going to plug that into radius. Height is going to be 5.2. The sides will be 64. Want them extra smooth. Edge and edge steps will stay the same, as edge will be 0, edge steps will be 1. All right. Now we're going to go up again, and we're going to add another cylinder. So go all the way up to the top, grab that cylinder, plug that in. This one's going to be a hole, so make sure you check on that gray, the gray stripes, and then open up that tool, the toolbox. I should say shape tools is what it is, shape toolbox. And then we're going to grab arithmetic again. Scroll down, so in data, this is half radius. Plug that in right there. And we're going to divide this by 2, so much like the first one. We're not going to grab another one for this one, so this one's just going to be like this. We're going to put that in with the radius. We're going to change the height to 6. Sides are going to be 64. Edge and edge steps, what's going to stay the same, so 0 and 1. So don't change that. Scroll all the way up, and now we're going to create groups. So we're going to modify these, create group. You can pick a color. Once again, whatever color you pick, it doesn't matter on TinkerCAD, but once you want it printed, let me know which color you want it to be printed as. Okay, so this is overall how to create the fidget spinner. So basically, this is it. I think you should though. I'm going to show you though how we take it to the next step. We're going to export this, and then we're also going to create a little centerpiece to go along with this, and I will show you how to do so. In the moment, for right now though, if you want catch up, if you lost any of the code as I was doing it, pause your video right here, and you can catch up with the rest of the code. We're going to go export this, and export it. You want to export it as a STL, and you should see it in the download section down here. Okay, so I'm going to close this out now. So as you see it download, we're going to go backwards now. Now TinkerCAD does save your project as you go along, so don't worry about losing anything if you do this. It will generally save it to the last portion you have worked on. All right, so you see here's my fidget spinner, nothing's really changed. I'm going to hit New Design, and I'm going to click 3D Design. It's going to open up TinkerCAD as we've worked on it before multiple times in this. Now, here's where you can import different 3D designs. As long as it's an STL file, you can actually import a multitude of different designs. But you have to make sure that you download the file first from any of your TinkerCAD projects in order to upload it or import it into this plane. So I'm going to choose the file, and I have it right here. Okay, so here's the fidget spinner. Just so you know, when you export something and you import it, the sizing from wherever you export it from, like in Codeblocks, it will come out the same size in here. So the sizes don't change because it is all based on what the millimeter sizes are, and we did set the codes for that. So like I mentioned thickness before, this thickness should be, or the height should be 5. Let's see. So 5. So It is 5.2. The reason is because this middle section, this piece right in here, when we did the overall fidget spinner at the very end, we did have a center cylinder that the height was 5.2. So that's why that is 5.2. So what we're going to do is we're going to create we're going to bring out the cylinder and we're going to use this as like a middle portion. I don't know if any of you remember what the sizing was for the Codeblocks, but we do want to make sure the sides, like we were changing the sides for all of this is 64. We do want to make sure we change this to 64 as well. So we're going to change this to 64. I do want to suggest a bevel. So this will round out the very tip of it and also will make it easier to pop it in. So eventually what you're going to do is these are going to be put out as separate pieces and you're going to pop in the center. And besides, they'll have a nice little smooth edge. And then segments, trying to get close enough. So as you change the segments, you can see, let's see if I change a different color, if that helps. As you change the segments, you see it rounds out these corners. So look at these corners. So you see how it's like adding more segments, so it's rounding them out. And bevel just kind of makes it more or less like a pill shape. It like really rounds out the top. So you see that bevel, and if I were to unbevel it, then you see how it kind of just pops out a little bit. So I'm going to keep it like really bevel, really smooth. I think that would be a good way to make sure it all prints out really nicely. And then, like I said, it'll be easier to move it into the center. So we did the Codeblocks. The radius itself was 28. So half of the radius would be 14. So in this, though, right now, 20 is like the standard size for any of these shapes to come out. So we want to make it smaller than 14 to fit inside the center. So I'm going to change this. I don't want to change it exactly 14 because I found out in the past, like with plastic, trying to spin in plastic, it's very, very hard for it to spin properly. So we want to make sure, let's say it's like 13. Okay, I'm rethinking that. Let's change this to 3.5. So I don't want to make it, it's very particular how small you can get it. So if you get it too small, like even by 1 millimeter smaller in diameter, it just might just slip out. So ultimately, I think 13.5 would be the best for this. So make sure it's changed to 13.5, 13.5. The height is going to be 7, okay? Now here's where you could add initials. I'm going to take the text tool. You can add a heart. So ultimately, I think I will do this for that. So this heart is a 26 by 28. I'm going to change it to 6 by 6. Put it right in the middle, make it a hole. Now I'm going to move this down a little bit. So I have the heart select. I also want to select, I'm holding shift and I'm selecting the circle, and I'm going to group these two. Kind of like a nice little button fidget spinner. So you can do something like that. If you want to cut it out of an object, you can. Another option would be to just group these two. So I have the heart on top. The only thing I want you to pay attention to when you do that, you want to also make sure that the heart isn't too far, like hanging up over it. I'm trying to make sure the heart is not too big. Right now it's 10. So I'm going to make this an 8 just to stay pretty close to the same size as the centerpiece. So you could do something like that too if you group these two. Okay, so that's pretty much all you need to know about this kind of fidget spinner. Now, as I was looking, I'm gonna deselect the heart and I'm gonna look up something. And if you're interested in doing it this way, you're welcome to as well. This is more of um, a simplified way of making a fidget spinner. You can search up fidget and then you see something like this. So you could drag this on. So this is another fidget spinner. This is something a TinkerCADer made. Okay, so I dragged out this fidget spinner and here are some of the options you can do. It does say you can drag a file on here. It's an SVG under 200 KB for best results. So I did download something just to see what's going to happen. I don't see anything happening. Maybe if I change the arm width, it does something. Okay, so I'm not sure what's supposed to happen. If it's, I guess it's supposed to be drawn on there. I'm going to just pull the shape out again and just try again. So I'm just going to delete it and search up Fidget. Sometimes things just don't work out the way you want them to with this. And like I said, I'm not sure what exactly is supposed to happen, but I could try again and see. But if it's not going to work, then it's just not going to work. Not a big deal. I'm just curious myself. So let me just change the arm width and arm length, and you can see what's happening. So if I change arm count, I'll change this down a little bit because this is really big. So you see arm width and then arm length. It's actually really neat. You do have a lot of options on here. And if you want to play around and see which one works for you, if you decide to do this and you want to print out because it looks cool like this, I will warn you, because of all these pieces are separate, when you print out in 3D, it's just going to print out separate pieces, so your fidget spinner won't be usable. So just keep that in mind. I would keep something more attached. Even if they're like this much attached, it's still okay, but there might be some breakage of it. So just forewarning you, I want to give you the best option for your fidget spinners to make sure they work really well. Okay, made my just turn this a little bit smaller, but I'm still playing with. I'm trying to show you all the options you have here. Now the neat thing is the radius on the inside does not change. You don't have to worry about that, but you do have a lot of options to change the outside of it, which is really neat. Okay, so I'm going to try once again to do that. I just run as the bike SVG. See what happens. It looks like it's loading now. It's doing something. That's why it's outlined in red. Just close this to see if it does anything. Gonna wait a minute just to see. I don't know if it's going to. Yeah, it's not going to. So that's okay. So I guess if you find an SVG file and you want to give it a shot and see if yours works, go for it. Otherwise, you are welcome to just have a fidget spinner just like this. And then even for this one, if you decide you just want a solid piece in the middle, you can always change that as well. You can even just make this a size for 15 by 15. I'm going to zoom in on it so you can see. 15 by 15 will make it the size of the middle. Now remember, when you do that, it won't spin. It will just be a solid piece. So you might be getting some friction between your fingers when you work it, or you'll just have to work it, but just be careful when it spins. It won't spin as fast. That's what I'm trying to get to say. And yeah, so I'm just forewarning you. Trying to get both of these in here. So these are your options for your fidget spinners, and I hope you have fun. You enjoy finding new ways to make fidget spinners. Like I said, if you want to make a gyro spinner, go for it too. It's also really fun. There's a lot more steps to it, but it's still just as fun. It's a neat thing to print out. Once you are done with your fidget spinner, email me, and then you can get your fidget spinner printed out. I'll give you a list of colors that we do have, and let you know when it is ready for pickup. Something like this takes about an hour to print, so keep that in mind. I will also give you. I also will provide the metal pieces for the inside of these, so that you can come home with a working fidget spinner. You don't have to worry about having to buy any of those. The gyro spinner doesn't need one, so you will not be getting one if you make that. Okay, and I hope you enjoy the TinkerCAD challenge. Thank you for trying this out, and have fun. Bye.